Welcome everyone to Roll for Recipe, the series where the dice are the head chef. For those who are new here, my name is Kyle, and this channel is dedicated to answering one question. Can we make a good recipe using random ingredients chosen by these dice? Time to find out. Let's roll for recipe. First up, as always, rolling a d10 to see what our restriction is. That's 2, under $5 per serving. I really like this one because I like to save money. And this show can get kind of expensive sometimes. And now for a protein, let's hope this does not get too expensive. 3 for lentils, that is definitely not expensive. So last time we got this restriction, I said eggs were probably the best roll for it. I totally forgot about lentils. I think this may actually beat it out. They're versatile, they're delicious, and they're extremely cheap, so they're very good for this restriction. And probably the cheapest category, the D6 for carb. 2 for tater tots. Ooh, that's a nice alliteration. Tater tots feel a little bit awkward with the lentils. I don't normally think of these as a dish. Maybe there's some niche dish somewhere, like a Midwest casserole or something that puts these together, but I've definitely never heard of a dish that does it. So for now, let's see what else we roll and maybe we can build around this. Also a pretty cheap category, 2d12 for the seasonings. 6 and 9, 69, basil and marjoram, nice. Marjoram is the cousin of oregano, both botanically and flavor-wise, so it should pair pretty well with this basil. This kind of leans us into Mediterranean Italian flavors. I think we can pretty easily build around this flavor profile. And 2d20 for the produce. 9 and 15, coconut and jalapeno. Well, now we get a very different flavor profile. Coconut and jalapenos both definitely work quite a bit in tropical type cuisine. To be honest, I'm kind of happy. The jalapenos are gonna give us a nice spice and the coconut should give us a nice sweetness. So those should balance well. And I did get sweetened coconut here because it is significantly cheaper than unsweetened coconut for some odd reason. And the final ingredient, the D100 Wild Magic Roll. 53, that is panko. We just got that a few episodes ago. Panko surprisingly feels like the most awkward ingredient here. I think the real only option here now is to go the casserole route, do like a breadcrumb topping with it. There may be a couple other options I'm not thinking of, but I feel like that's just the best route here. And finally, the 2d6 to see how many extra ingredients we get. 2 and 5, we have to use 7 extra ingredients. So it's the next day. I've had a little bit of time to think this one through, and there's a couple dishes I was deciding between. I ultimately landed on kind of a lentil potato curry. The only awkward thing about curry, I think it'll play well off the coconut and the jalapeno. I'm not so sure about the basil and the marjoram, so I'm gonna try to cross between curry and kind of Mediterranean Italian. So for that, we have carrots, onion, garlic, we have some tomato sauce. These 4 ingredients I think are pretty standard in both curries and in Italian cuisine, so I think they're gonna bridge that gap really well. Vinegar should help the dish pop quite a bit, and then for the actual curry, I'm gonna go with curry powder and coconut milk. Before I was thinking curry, I was thinking of just doing a tomato sauce, and I was just gonna use cream, and then I figured, well, we rolled coconut, why not use coconut milk, use a coconut flavored cream. Just lean fully into that rolled item. So yeah, these are the 7 extra ingredients. As always, salt, oil, and water are free. And with that, it's time to start cooking. As usual, Mise is gonna start. We're gonna cut up all of our vegetables here, the onions, the carrots, the jalapenos. For all these, I think I'm gonna go for about a 1/2-inch dice. I think that's gonna be just about right to give some texture while also not being too large. That might be a little smaller than a 1/2-inch, but I think it should work. Jalapenos, I'm just gonna go for about a 1/4-inch slice on these. I don't know why I just took the top off of that. I know a lot of people would say to remove the seeds with jalapenos. I kind of like keeping them around, since I kind of like spiciness, especially when we're working with curries. And then for the carrots, I'm just gonna cut them into 1/4-inch discs. So as much as I love this setup with this new table, it shakes a lot, especially when I'm cutting stuff. I don't know if this was too many vegetables. It looks like quite a bit. I'm not planning to make a ton of curry here, but I mean, extra vegetables is fine. All right, mise en place is done, so now we get to just cook the curry. Nice and simple today. All right, we got a pot on the stove for the curry. We're gonna add some oil to it. As always, the mise en place all over to the side right here. Gonna go in with all of our vegetables. Gonna saute these for about 10 minutes, get everything soft and sweat it off. All right, that wasn't quite 10 minutes, more like 5 minutes, but now we're gonna go in with our garlic. Also gonna add the basil and the marjoram, as well as a decent amount of this curry powder. That is super fragrant. I'm gonna use a splash of red wine vinegar to deglaze this. Now add our tomato sauce, our coconut milk, which has separated, if you guys can tell that. It happens sometimes, doesn't mean it's bad or anything. And then we're gonna add the lentils, which have been washed, that's why they're kind of wet. All right, and now that this is coming up to a bit of a boil, we're going to turn the heat down to about a medium low, and we're gonna cover it and let it simmer for about 30 minutes until the lentils are cooked. All right, that curry is finishing up on the back burner. In the meantime, I'm going to make something with the breadcrumbs. So I'm going to put some oil into a pan, then I'm going to add some panko. Gonna add the sweetened coconut flakes, a little bit of salt, and then the basil and the marjoram for some extra flavor. I'm gonna add a little bit more panko. So I had to dig deep for this one for something called a pangrattato. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be pronouncing it completely wrong, but I guess it's just a toasted breadcrumb topping that you put on pasta. I've never heard of it before, but it sounded like a good use for the panko and the coconut flakes. All right, this is starting to get a nice toasty color now. I was hoping to get a little bit more of a toast on the coconut, but I guess this will have to do. Ooh, that tastes really nice though. All right, the curry should be just about done, so we're gonna check on it. Definitely thickened up nicely. Going to taste test real quick. Make sure these lentils are cooked. Yep, they're definitely cooked through, so we're gonna add a little bit more acid, a little bit more vinegar, or salt for flavor. Clean spoon, we're gonna taste test again, make sure that this is good. All right, I got my tater tots cooked up on the side here. Here's the thing, I think there's definitely an argument for leaving these on the side so that they kind of retain the crisp and the crunch, but I'm going to add them and just kind of let them be the potato component of the curry. I think I definitely could have used more. All right, time to get everything plated. Simple plating today, just gotta ladle the curry into the bowl, couple good ladlefuls, and then we're going to take our pangrattato, I think is what it was called. Again, sorry if I'm totally mispronouncing that. And we are going to spread it all over the top. This is kind of why I wasn't concerned about the tater tots, is because I knew this was gonna give me a nice crunch, add that textural contrast. And there is the final dish. Admittedly, I have already pretty much tasted this in its final form because I had to taste it for salt and acid, but I'm definitely still curious how it's all gonna come together with the potatoes and that pangrattato on top as well. Definitely excited to eat this one. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this video and wanna see more. I'm definitely excited for this one. I love a good lentil curry, so let's dig in. Bon appetit. I mean, it's a solid lentil curry. It hits all the right marks. It's got some spicy, some sweet. It's got a lot of flavor. I definitely wish I could taste the basil and the marjoram a little bit more. Curry powder is a very strong spice, tends to overpower everything else. Between the coconut milk and the topping, I definitely taste a little bit of coconut. Not super strong, but it's definitely there. As I mentioned earlier while I was putting everything in the pot with the tater tots, there is an argument to be made that if you want to keep the integrity of that crunch from the tater tots, you would put them in the bowl and then just put the curry on top. For me though, I'm perfectly fine with it as it is like this, where the potatoes are just mixed in. It's all personal preference when it comes to that, and I definitely have a crunch from that topping. And speaking of the topping, that topping is really good. I really like the flavor of the coconut, the toasted breadcrumbs there. It's got a good crunch, it's got a good flavor to it. I honestly, while I was making everything else, I was just snacking on it. It actually is really good. So yeah, overall, very happy with this dish. So for a score, I would definitely enjoy eating something like this in kind of a casual Indian restaurant, so definitely a good flavor. Cost-wise, here's a breakdown on the side. I kind of forgot to mention it earlier, but here it is. Because of the restriction, it's naturally gonna be a pretty cheap dish. And curry's a pretty simple dish to make. You just kind of throw everything into the pot. As I said, I'm maybe gonna deduct a little bit in my head just because the rolled ingredients didn't shine as much as that curry powder I added. And then to boot, it's a solid curry, but it also isn't the best curry I've ever had. I've definitely had better. So for a final score and a name, I'm gonna give it an 8.4 out of 10, and I'm gonna call it the loaded lentils. To be honest, my original idea was to do loaded tater tots with like a lentil tomato sauce, some cheese, and some jalapenos, but I think this one worked out a lot better, to be honest. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.